Hi, my name is Greg Canty, and I'd like to welcome you to the Win Happy podcast. I love chatting to people from all walks of life about their lives and their careers, about the choices they make along the way to pursue their happiness, and what winning actually means to them. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I do. Thanks for listening. On today's podcast, I chatted with two inspirational women who both gave up their full-time jobs to follow their respective dreams, and now they find themselves selling their products alongside each other in a new pop-up shop. Martina Patoska, originally from Poland, started her baby gifting business, The Little Big Moments, 2 years ago. Sue Kumar from India started her jewellery business, Leap of Faith, over a year ago. Meraki is the new pop-up shop in Winthrop Arcade in Cork City, where they sell their products alongside other like-minded craftspeople. Let's hear from Sue and Martina. Martina Patoska?
Potocka, yeah, you got it nearly almost right.
Well, it's been a long time since I even had to pronounce your surname, Martina, so there you go. Of The Little Big Moments.
Yeah.
And we have Sue Kumar of Leap of Faith Jewellery.
Yep, that's me.
It's a little bit of a puzzle. So you're both on the Win Happy podcast. And I'm sure the listeners are wondering, why have you got these two very, very different people on the podcast together? So what we're going to do is maybe we'll solve that puzzle during the course of our conversation. But in the meantime, what I'd like to do is I'd like for the listener to get to know both of you. And at the end of the conversation, hopefully we'll solve that puzzle for them. And you'd never know, they might be able to even meet you in person very, very soon. Okay, so...
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Well, that's the idea anyway, but you'd never know. We could end up in all sorts of strange places with our conversation.
Down the rabbit hole we go.
Yeah, exactly. As we see the sunlight disappearing. Yeah, so I'm going to start with you, if that's okay.
Sure.
Could you tell me where you're from and maybe that early life story of yours?
Sure. Greg, so I'm originally from India. And my parents are of Indian origin. However, I grew up in Dubai. So my parents actually moved to Dubai in the 70s. And then I ended up doing my schooling, etc. there. Early 2000s, that in 2006, I actually ended up moving to Ireland. People usually tend to ask me, what brought you to Ireland? I would say the funny answer would be a leprechaun brought me in. I followed the pot of gold. Well, actually, I followed my partner to Ireland. And what eventually happened was me falling in love with Ireland, falling in love with Cork, and I ended up staying back here. And it's been a great journey so far. I have been here for almost 15 years. Would I say part Corkonian? I'm not sure, but I have been let's say, enjoying my time here, getting used to the way things work, and probably growing as well, because as a young adult moving to Ireland, it was a huge change and a shift for me. But there's something about this place, there's something about Cork that keeps me here. Even if I go back home to my parents, I always end up moving back to Cork in some way or form, or finding my way back. And I did leave for a few years. Back in 2013, moved back to be with my family for a few years. But I ended up coming back to Cork every single year to spend Patrick's Day here, or even to meet my friends. And that's when I realized that, for me, Cork is home. I have grown up here and I want to be here, and this is where I would like to settle and call my home. So I moved back here permanently in 2017, and I've been here since. If you were to ask me where I started my career, or how I started my career spans across two different streams, I have to say. My background is IT. I started my career off as a software engineer, and then decided that, technology might be a bit too complex. I might actually like to work with people a bit more. So I ended up moving into HR, and I have been in the HR space for the last 15 odd years before I decided to take the leap of faith last year.
Now, I'm going to stop you there. So,
Sure, I suppose.
no, you're totally cool. So that's kind of part one. And as part of that part one, tell me what your mum and dad did, or what they worked at, and what brought them to Dubai in the first place.
Okay. My dad, again, he used to be in IT as well. So he actually, I know the family, you can see the family kind of pattern playing through. So he was in IT as well. He moved to Dubai in the 70s. And at that point, I think a lot of people actually did move to Dubai from India because it was very close. It was just about a 3.5 hour flight, similar to going from Cork to Dublin. So a lot of people actually kind of migrated to Dubai and set their home there too. So that's how my dad ended up moving there with his friends. And then, of course, he met my mom, they got married, and then she moved with him as well. And then myself and my brother, we were both actually kind of brought up in Dubai. Dubai used to be a completely different place back then, growing up. I remember in school, especially in our kind of, let's say, subjects that we were taught, there was only one skyscraper in Dubai back then.
Oh.
And it was the World Trade Center, and it had only 34 stories. And that was the tallest building in Dubai when I was growing up. And I think, in the 90s with the Dubai Shopping Festival, everything massively changed. And you could see the difference and the change that Dubai has actually brought in terms of being the hub, the touristic hub across the world even. So lots of shifts and changes. And I suppose we have actually seen a shift and change as we grew up there too. So yes, I'm very close to my family. I have to say my dad is my lifeline. And I have a younger brother as well, and he and his wife as well, along with my parents. So that's our little unit, if I can say so.
And as a place to grow up, was that a good experience? It's obviously changed an awful lot since then.
It's very different back then to how it is now, I have to say. For me, I mean, in terms of culture, it was very similar to the Indian culture. So it wasn't massively different. Yes, you have certain limitations that comes along with it, cultural limitations that comes along with it, which you might not find here in Ireland, from my own personal experience, because there was such a huge Indian community already in Dubai. It was almost like as if the cultural kind of, let's say, experience that I was having in Dubai was very similar to what it would have been if I were to go back home to India, because there was such a huge Indian community present in Dubai. So in terms of variations, there wouldn't be much. But it was interesting for me as a child growing up there because, yes, you have the Islamic variation of it. From a religious perspective, I'm a Hindu. And then, of course, growing up in an Islamic country, there are differences too. And then I studied in a convent as well. So there was that kind of other element playing through. So it was a good experience and exposure to the different kind of, let's say, cultural, traditional, religious aspects too. You begin to understand and experience and look at it differently from different perspectives. So that was probably something that I have actually picked up over a period of time as well. It opens up your mind in how you interact with people from different cultures, religions, etc. It makes you understand things slightly more better because you have had that experience yourself growing in that environment, to interact with people and open up your mind a little bit as well in terms of how you perceive things, if I can say so.
Okay. And as a dreamer, if you can remember when we were young kids and you were in the classroom listening to a boring teacher who had lost your attention, when Sue started to dream, where did you go in your head?
Oh my. That's a trick question. I might reveal too much. Greg, I have to say, you're right. I'm definitely a 200% dreamer. So in school, in class, whenever teachers used to go on with their lectures, I would be in my mind in a different world altogether, like Alice in Wonderland. I used to read a lot as a child. So I used to spend a lot of time in the library amongst books. And to such an extent that my teacher actually advised my parents to buy me books so that I can read more at home. And every time I read books, I would read books about different countries, about travels. And I think what I used to always imagine is being able to travel to different parts of the world to experience that, what I'm reading in the book. Like, even if it is, for example, any English classics that I was reading, it would talk about the Highlands, the Scottish Highlands or the English Highlands. And I would always imagine myself being able to teleport myself to that space to experience that. And it's funny how when you dream, you don't realize. I never thought that I would actually end up in Ireland or be able to travel to Ireland, but it somehow magically happened in some way or form. I have to say, it brought me here. Yeah, so I'm rambling, but yes, when I used to dream about places, about travels, about going and experiencing different things, meeting up with different people, and maybe opening up to different ways of being.
You're absolutely right, because when you get those ideas in your head, sometimes they can end up actually coming true.
Manifesting.
And in one of the previous episodes of the Win Happy podcast, just a few episodes ago, I had the pleasure of the company of a wonderful lady called Vanessa Keneally.
Okay.
And she read a book when she was a kid, which is Wuthering Heights.
Yes.
And in the book, I think someone adopted a child.
Okay.
So she ended up adopting a child, even though it wasn't for fertility reasons or anything like that, because she has 2 children. But she adopted a child from India.
Okay.
And it turned out to be a 6-year-old boy by the time he had come to her.
Oh, bless.
And now he's living in Kinsale with his new family and everything. But that all happened from that book. So it is very, very unusual. And tell me, in that book reading and in all of your experience, did Ireland creep onto your radar at any point?
I think it might have. Like, even like, for example, the classics that I used to read, we used to have that in school. A lot of English classics were given to us as reading subjects. And I remember even kind of collecting those books from the library and reading about it, about the Highlands. And I'm 120% sure that Ireland definitely featured in that. Because even as I came here, you know, the sense of familiarity that comes to you when you come to a place. And that's what Cork did for me. So when I came to Cork, it was something that it's almost like an energetic connection that you have with the place. Yeah. And that place then keeps calling back to you every time and now. And even if I have gone and probably stayed in different counties or even different countries, like I've stayed in London as well for work, etc. It's always been Cork in some way or form, or Ireland, that actually kind of calls me back to it. And it's funny because even when I went back to Dubai, I had a couple of my colleagues say, okay, there must be something there, some unfinished business for you there that keeps bringing you back to Cork or Ireland. So yes, I wouldn't be surprised if I have, as a child, picked up on that as I was reading through the books. Yeah.
I think it's so important for your well-being that you do have that sense of connection to the place where you're living. I think it would be sad if, you were just bouncing from place to place and you didn't have that sense of being at home somewhere, in a place that felt right for you. And the IT itch, was that, okay, I need a job, or was this your passion?
Well, it was more directed passion.
Okay.
My dad was in IT, so it was expected that I would follow in the same line, let's say. And so that's how I ended up doing my bachelor's and my master's in IT as well. Even though in my heart, when I was doing my master's, we had HR as one of the subjects. And I knew straight away that that's where I want to go. It's almost like instinctive. I just knew that I wanted to work with people. And I loved that teacher as well, who was teaching us human resources. And so I quietly did it. I got a postgraduate diploma in HR when I was doing my master's without telling my folks, because my folks would probably not get me, even if I tried to explain it to them, because for them, they knew that I was going to end up being in IT in some way or form. So even as I got my first job as an intern in Accenture, I remember speaking to my mentor there and saying, look, I know I'm in IT. I'm happy to do programming and coding, but I don't see myself being in IT forever. I would like to start moving into human resources or getting exposure and experience in human resources. And thankfully for me, he understood and he was supportive as well. But I still remember, Greg, the conversation I had with one of the senior leaders there. It's funny now that I'm thinking about it 20 years later. He asked me, where would you like to see yourself in 10 years' time? The typical HR question. And I remember telling him that I want to work with people and I want to be able to serve the community in some way or form, of being in social service space. yes, I didn't get to that point, but I suppose for me, it's always been doing things that can give back to the community in some way or form, or I can do something to help another. And that has always been there in the back of my mind. I might not be kind of fully in that space as a social service worker, for instance, but I've always kept that in the back of my mind. I suppose probably because I have seen my family do that too, my parents do that too. It's like wherever I can have an opportunity to support or to give back, I would like to do that. And I think I know we will probably get to that point at some stage during our conversation. I think Meraki also came up from that consciousness, that's, or I don't know if that's the right word even, that value that I've had with me all this while. It's almost like, okay, wherever I can find that opportunity and gather that opportunity, I would like to
Okay.
do that.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for that whistle stop tour. Now we're going to go to Poland. Well, the story started in Poland. Go on, Martina. I'm going to throw the ball to you.
Yeah, so I'm from Poland. I came to Ireland in 2005, I think, with my parents. And to be honest, us coming to Ireland was never really part of the plan. It was very spontaneous. My dad came to Ireland on his own in 2004. It was during the Celtic Tiger. He was working in the construction industry, so obviously construction workers were needed at the time. So that's what he came here for. And the plan was just for him to stay here for a few years and, save a bit of money and get back home. And after just 1 year, he was like, I can't do this. I miss all of you. I miss my family. I have no family, no friends here. It's very difficult. So my parents then, within just a space of a few weeks, made a huge decision and took the leap of faith as well, I suppose, and decided that we were going to move to Ireland, all of us. And a few weeks later, we had our, suitcases packed and we were here in Cork. So I was only 12 at the time, and most of my family have since gone back home. So my parents, my sister have all gone back. So it's just me and my brother now here. But similarly to Sue, Cork became home to me. And Sue was talking about, having this energetic connection with a place, the sense of familiarity and the feeling of being at home. I can relate to that, but I think in my case, it's more about the people. I'm just happier around Irish people. And it's probably a horrible thing to say, but there is something about Irish people that keeps me here, And whenever I go back home to Poland, even the island now is my home, whenever I go back to Poland, I'm always happy to go back home to Ireland and be around my Irish family, or friends, the family I created myself, let's say, with the people I chose to spend my time with and be friends with, basically. So it's been a long time, more than half of my life at this stage that I'm here. Really happy. With no plans of going back to Poland anytime.
Martina, where in Poland were you from?
So I'm from the north of Poland, not far from Gdańsk, just a smaller town just outside of Gdańsk.
Yeah, and, a lot of the Polish people at that stage coming to Ireland for work and everything. Mm-hmm. Like, was Poland in a bad state of affairs at that time? Was there high unemployment?
Yeah, high unemployment, but also the salaries were very low. I remember my mom, who was a nurse, she was only making €1.50 per hour at the time. You can't make a living, making that, So, yeah, things were tough. Both of my parents were working full time before we came to Ireland. They weren't taking any holidays, any leave of work, and we were still struggling. Well, they were still struggling to, make ends meet. So things were pretty tough, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm correct, but would it be fair to say that when you and your family would have come to Ireland, that would have been one of the early phases of Eastern Europeans coming to Ireland? Like now, Eastern Europeans are everywhere. We have Polish people everywhere. In an Irish context, everyone left. People didn't come to Ireland, and suddenly you had lots of people from Poland. You're thinking, okay, what's going on here? This is a bit weird. And you're in your local supermarket and you're in the queue, and there's a Polish person in front of you in the queue, and suddenly she's been served by a Polish person, and they're both talking Polish. You're like, hold on now, I'm I'm in Super Value in Ballincollig, and there's two people in front of me, and they're both speaking Polish together. This is very strange. So was that really an unusual experience for you coming to Ireland? And my second question there is, how were you received by Corkonians? Because I think it was Cork you came to begin with, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, a town, yeah, outside of Cork, but yeah. Yeah, so when we came here, I remember my first year in Ireland, there actually weren't that many Polish people that we knew at the time. Even when I went to school here, there was only, out of 600 students, let's say, there was only me and one other Polish student in the school. So the first year, I didn't really see, as many of us here, but the second year and third year, definitely there was a massive increase in the Eastern European people coming into Ireland. More students, more Eastern European students in school. Like you said, the supermarkets, even, people started opening Eastern European stores. Like Carricktour itself, which is a tiny little village, has, I think, 2 or 3 Polish shops. That's a lot, that's a lot of shops for such a small village. So definitely very quickly after we arrived here, things like, it was very obvious that there are more and more people coming in, more Polish people and just Eastern European people. And the community kind of, I suppose, yeah, they started building almost like a Polish community in Cork. Even my dad, like when he came here, the reason he wanted to get back was because he was like, I just feel so lonely and like excluded, there are no Polish people here at the time, or maybe not as many, and it just feels very lonely. But yeah, I suppose within a space of 2 or 3 years, things changed massively.
I was leaving the house, I think it was last week, and myself and Dee were just walking the two dogs, and this woman passed us, really, really friendly. Oh, hello, 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 whatever. And, where we live, it's a little just block of houses. So I was thinking, well, she wasn't one of the neighbours. And so anyway, that's fine. We walked the dogs. When I came back, and I could see through the letterbox, there was a little flyer or a little leaflet. And she was going from door to door, putting in her election literature. And I think it was a Polish lady, Olga, I don't know her surname. But I thought, oh, wow, that's that full cycle, when Polish people have been here for so long that they're an integral part of Cork and the community. And now, obviously they want to give back and do some public service and get involved in politics. So that's been a big journey, and you were at the very, very beginning of it, Martina. And when you were dreaming in school and the teacher lost your attention, where did you go and what did you dream of doing?
Back in Poland or in Ireland?
No, and anywhere. You were still in school here, sure.
Yeah, I was. I started secondary school when we came to Ireland. Yeah, I think as a child, I wasn't really exposed to traveling at all, apart from coming to Ireland. So like traveling was never something that I thought of or could see myself doing. It's different now, obviously, but as a child, it was never, I never really wandered anywhere in the world in my dreams. Yeah, I think as a child, I always loved creating things, making things. So my happy place, whether it would be like in a physical world or in my head, was somewhere where I can just like sit down and create, whether it was drawing, creating stuff out of clay, anything at all, like definitely in school, my favorite subject was art. So I was at my happiest when we had, whenever, I was in the art class. So yeah, so whenever I suppose the lessons or the classes got boring for me, I was kind of in my head coming up with new creative ideas of the things I could possibly make.
Yeah, why am I not surprised?
Yeah. Nothing has changed.
Cool. So I'm going to come back to you and maybe we can have a conversation about the world of work and what that was like for you. So you were on the path to a really good corporate career with IT, going to HR. And I know you were successful, but was it a round peg in a square hole? That expression?
I'm sorry, Greg. That's too funny. But yes, it was, I would say. I put on my hat, my HR hat, and I did the corporate jig. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I actually loved being with people. I enjoyed working with people. But at the same time, I knew that I actually went down the whole corporate career ladder. Yes, this is where I want to be in a few years' time. This is what I want to get to. The usual corporate ladder scenario. You say, okay, you're going to be X by these many years. You're going to be Y by these many years. And this is how you're going to play out the rest of your career. And I had that all mapped out in my head and I was going after it. And I kept going. But somewhere, I think along the line, I just started feeling something amiss. It was that kind of, I don't know, was it my intuition or was it something inside that went, wait a minute, this is definitely not fulfilling, or something inside me. I'm checking all the boxes and I seem to be getting to where I want to get to, but it's not giving me that happiness, or it's not feeding me that happiness that I was aspiring for. And I think the turning point for me was when my health took a beating. So, well, there were a lot of other factors playing into it on the personal front with my family as well, especially with my brothers. And I think that definitely had an impact on me too. And somewhere along the line in 2021, I think it was during the pandemic when I started feeling that, okay, something seems to be amiss. I definitely need to revisit this. And I signed up for courses in the evening just to take my mind off work. So I started going for metalsmithing course because I was like, okay, I can go and hammer something.
Very loudly.
Something. So it can take my mind off the things that I don't want to focus on. So the metalsmithing course helped me a lot in the evenings, especially during the pandemic. My dining table turned into my workstation. So there wasn't much of a kind of, let's say, detached from work scenario playing out, because even though I moved away from the dining table to the couch, work came along with me in my head and it kept playing in the background, even though I was trying to distract myself. So the metalsmithing course was definitely helpful. So I would highly recommend it to de-stress, especially when you can hammer away at the metals.
Did your table survive?
Not the one in the workshop, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the metalsmithing course then took me away. It helped me kind of, let's say, take my mind off things, and also helped me de-stress, if I can use that word, to kind of calm myself down and also do something that I enjoy, because it helped me it taught me a lot about the processes and the tools and how do we actually put things together. Because in the past, I would have made things with crystals and beads, but I never knew how to work metals. So this actually took me on a journey of learning about metals and how the different metals work, and how do you actually kind of work with the different metals and what you can make out of them too, So it was something creative, something that kind of got my analytical brain quiet and my creative brain working. And I really enjoyed it, and I continued doing so. And in 2020, late 2021, what happened was I ended up taking up another role, which was something that I was aspiring towards, that I wanted to take up. But then what happened was it really got a bit overwhelming for me, and it affected my health seriously. And I think that's when I realized that, wait a minute, this is not how I want to continue. At the end of the day, time, energy, and health are the most precious assets that you have. And where you decide to spend it, or how you decide to expend it, should be your decision, and shouldn't be something that's dictated by an organization or someone outside you. And you can reach how many ever levels in your career, but if your health is not there, nothing matters at the end of the day. And I think that realization literally woke me up. And I kept going, though. I kept going for the rest of the 2022 journey. And I did speak to one of the directors at that point and explained my personal situation to her as well. I have to say, she was very mindful and also helpful in terms of guiding me and saying that you need to follow what is right for you. And it doesn't matter how many ever kind of, let's say, ladders you climb, at the end of the day, health is the most important. And I suppose that also helped me then to kind of make a conscious decision to say, okay, I need to pause here. I need to take a step back and revisit this in terms of where I'm going. I did have career aspirations. I wanted to check those boxes, but those dreams didn't matter to me anymore. Those dreams didn't fulfill me anymore. So what is it that I want to do at this given point in time? And when the health aspect also played into it, then it became even more easier for me then to make that conscious decision to say that, okay, I need to pause here, focus on my health, get my health back into order, and then go after what I am passionate about. Because at the end of the day, what's the most important for me? My family. I want to be able to spend as much time as I can with my family. What is it that I want to do for the rest of my life? I want to do something that gives me peace, that gives me happiness, and that I'm passionate about. And then what is it that I want to attain from all of this? Find time with my family, do things that I'm passionate about, and do things that can eventually somehow contribute or give back or be of service in some way or form. Yes, I could actually work for I have worked for a lot of big corporations in my life, Greg, I have to say, over the last 15 to 18 years. But that has not done the full circle or given back. If I could put my energy into something that can, yes, feed my soul, but at the same time contribute in some way or form, I mean, that is a win-win for me from my perspective. And I think that's what then started working out. I mean, what helped me then take that leap of faith last March and saying, okay, time out, Sue, focus on your health, let go of things that are not working out, that's not helping you, and take a step back and review what you have in front of you, and then make conscious decisions on what you should be doing going forward.
And I think in a way, what you're describing is something that happens to all of us, where you jump on that career ladder, and if you do well, you get a promotion. And what comes with the promotion is more money and more responsibility. Yeah, and someone saying you're doing really great, congratulations, well done. And of course, that gives us a little bit of a boost, and that's really cool. And then you go to a higher level. And and at some level you think, well, I'll be even happier when I get there. And then, of course, that repeats itself, and you go higher again. And it's challenge after challenge. And I think this obviously isn't the case with everyone, but I kind of share your story. You get to a point of saying, I actually don't like this.
Yes.
I'm not getting that huge feeling from all of this responsibility. I feel like someone else is starting to own me a little bit too much or whatever. And while you are getting the financial rewards, I think we do end up paying a big price when we're doing things that aren't good for us, or where we're doing things that don't exactly meet who we are and what we want to do. And yeah, it's a big price if you're spending a lot of time at something that doesn't make you happy. And you pay a big price for it. You really do. And I think in your case, that was your health, which was probably a byproduct of you just not being happy there. So the health part was a symptom of this isn't working for me anymore, I think.
Yeah.
And your body, giving you the two fingers. Yeah, okay, we're not happy with this anymore. Yeah, and it's a typical story. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this will go, okay, is this me? But I do have responsibilities, and I do have mortgages, and I do have a nice car sitting outside the door. And it's difficult, and it's a very real thing when you do get caught up in all of that.
Difficult one to take that leap, especially like you said, when you have the golden handcuffs.
Yeah, and they are. Yeah, and maybe very realistic handcuffs, you know. It's amazing how quickly your life adjusts to your improved financial circumstances. The better car, the better house. So you have a loan for this and a loan for that. And, kids are in an expensive school and everything.
Everything just adds up.
Totally. And how about the lovely Martina? Your work career?
Yeah. So I was just listening to Sue, and I suppose I was lucky in a way that my health wasn't affected in any way or form by my work. But similarly to Sue, I did feel like there was something missing, And I suppose I quit my job 2 years ago, but even 1 year beforehand, I was feeling this just lack of satisfaction and, enjoyment out and fulfillment out of what I was doing. So, and I was sort of in a way blaming the environment, the work environment that I was in at the time. Or even before that, because I was in a bit of a toxic environment. I was like, okay, I'm just going to find a new job. And, and surely if I, get into a new environment, meet new people, things will change. So that's what I did. And then I started working for Fusion. And I pretty much got everything I wanted. I got, amazing team of people, really nice environment, but still I wasn't fully happy. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. It's bizarre. Like I got what I wanted, but there's still something missing. What is it, And I think over the course of my career, I worked on such a wide variety of projects, corporate projects, as well as projects that were personal to people. And what I discovered was that I was purely by a coincidence. My sister got pregnant shortly after I joined Fusion, and I just created a few gifts for her and for the baby. And during all that process, I discovered, okay, what I actually love creating is those personal projects, things that have sentimental value to people, and there's this phrase I like to use quite a lot lately. And I often say, I just love creating things with value beyond the price tag, So even though I've spent years, working on brands for, local and multinational companies, creating campaigns and different sorts of projects, I was enjoying it because, I enjoyed graphic design. I'm a graphic designer by profession. I enjoyed what I was doing, but there was still something missing. It's when I was working on those smaller, smaller projects that I sort of realized this is actually what gives me the satisfaction, and what gives me the fulfillment, because the relationship with the customer or the client when working on those personal projects is just so much different, and their engagement, and it's almost like they're emotionally attached to it in some way, and it really kind of it motivates you, and inspires you in a way. So that's kind of how I ended up leaving my full-time job and starting my own business, creating products and items that are personal to people, that hold memories and moments, and they just have this kind of sentimental value, I suppose. Sorry.
And for the listener, when Martina came to us and told us that she was going to leave to pursue her dreams, and of course she'd been listening to me banging on about when happy and follow your passion and all that kind of stuff, I thought, okay, we've created a monster here. And we were genuinely devastated when Martina gave us that news. And we told you, Martina, there was a door open anytime you wanted to walk back through it. It was there for you. And we even wanted to give you a promotion at that time. So you were turning your back on maybe to you, Sue, one of those career jumps and going a little bit higher and all that kind of thing. I was joking with you about locking you in a dungeon and never releasing you, just feeding you from time to time and, not letting you go.
As you say that, Greg, I already have a visual image in my head forming.
I think there's a line of jewellery, definitely, Sue, all about dungeons. Yes. It could be very lucrative.
It's inspired a collection in me already.
And with Martina, I really wanted you to fail very, very quickly. I thought, oh, this is a lovely idea. You'll get fed up with that very, very quickly when you realize how difficult it is being out on your own. I thought it was a lovely idea, but I was thinking, oh my God, and you're going to start doing this stuff online? Well, good luck with that. So Martina, how did it go? Tell me.
It went well and it's still going well.
Terrible news.
Terrible for you. I suppose. It is difficult, and it's definitely the hardest job I ever did. I didn't realize before starting the business, I didn't realize how much time and effort will have to go into everything. And I definitely didn't realize about how many other things I'll have to do that are completely unrelated to the creative process itself. Because I was thinking in my head, I was like, oh, I'll be just sitting at my lovely desk in my studio, creating all those lovely things. But there's so much more that goes into running a business, and it's very difficult and it's challenging. And I'm definitely working triple as much as I used to for probably not as much money yet, or still, hopefully it will change. So it's very difficult, but it's also it's very rewarding, in different ways. And I do get the fulfillment out of it and the satisfaction that was missing in my previous jobs,
That's brilliant. And what's your biggest learning from working for yourself?
I think starting the business and just doing what my heart told me to do, it just showed me that it's the right thing to do. Basically, listening to your heart, to your intuition, and following your dreams is the right thing to do. Because no matter how hard things get when running the business, I never lose the perseverance, I just have the strength in me to keep going, and there are days when I'm fed up, just like I was with any of the jobs I worked in before. But when you're working towards your own dream, when you're building your own dream, it's just different. You have a clear vision in front of you, a path that you're, walking on, and you know why you're doing it and what you're doing it for. So definitely it just taking that leap of faith, it just confirmed for me that, yes, that was the right thing to do, Yeah.
Yeah. And for the listeners, Martina, what's the web address? What's the name of the business, and where can people find you?
Yeah, it's thelittlebigmoments.ie. www.thelittlebigmoments.ie.
Perfect. And you're on all the social media channels and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm everywhere on social media. Yeah.
She's everywhere.
I'm everywhere.
And Sue, your business, tell me. I'd like you to explain to me what it was like at the very beginning, the first thing that you did when you were set free from your dungeons.
My dungeon. Greg, I have to say I would be very similar to what Martina said as well. Like when I actually gave up my golden handcuffs and took the leap of faith, I wasn't sure where I would land. And all I could say was a silent prayer to the universe saying that, please, wherever I land, let it be soft. So I'm still floating. I haven't landed yet. But what I have to say is that I actually appreciate people who have taken the leap of faith before me, people who have started on this entrepreneurial journey. I actually appreciate them so much more because, to what Martina was saying earlier, you don't realize the number of hats you wear. I was giving out about wearing an HR hat when I was in the corporate world, where in the business world, you have to be everything. It's not just the creative process, but you have to be the photographer, you have to be the marketer, you have to be the one who is networking, you have to be the accountant, you have to be so many different things for your business. But at the end of the day, it's almost like, yes, you have a vision that you follow. You know that this is what you want to do. You want to keep creating and keep creating those beautiful pieces of jewelry, because I create jewelry with crystals. And I always believe that crystals have that unique frequency and vibration, and they are a piece of nature themselves. So it's a great way of kind of sharing that piece of nature in the form of a jewelry to the wearers, and hope that that will kind of bring a bit of sparkle, shine, and magic with them. But as you walk down the journey, there could be elements, there could be bits where you don't see the path clearly after. And there has been moments like that for me as well, where I'm walking the journey, I'm creating the jewelry, I can see the appreciation coming back for it. I can see people enjoying wearing my jewelry, but in the long run, where is this going to take me to? Is this going to kind of take me down the journey where I have a clear vision? There can be times when it's not clear, but what I would probably say from my own personal experiences is keep going. Sometimes the destination might be unknown, but when you keep going, you might start seeing opportunities open up that you never thought would come up. And that's how my path has been, an unfolding, if I can say so. Opportunities, scenarios, situations have played up in front of me that I would have never dreamt of as I took the leap, be it Showcase 2024 that I signed up to. That came as a surprise for me because I had applied for it. Initially, I did not get through, but then come August, I got feedback saying that there has been a cancellation and that I have been actually chosen as one of the applications that will go through. So that definitely opened a lot of doors for me. Also, I managed to get into a couple of new retail outlets. And I have to say that I'm very grateful to Cork Flower Studio, as well as Michelle Mitten Design Gallery and Lekele Arts, I'm not pronouncing it right, in Dunmanway, for opening their doors to me, because I know how difficult it is to get into retail outlets, to showcase your products, etc. And these three ladies, Justine, Michelle, and Cecilia, have been very kind to actually open their doors and allow me to showcase my jewelry in their outlets. So I've had those opportunities play out for me as well over the last year and more. And I think as I walked down that journey, I've also got a lot of closed doors, if I can say it completely honestly, because of course there are so many of us looking for opportunities, right? And which is understandable. There are a lot of creatives there, and not every outlet can showcase all of us. So I did receive a lot of kind of, let's say, sorry, we are unable to showcase you, or unfortunately, this is not the right time for us. And that's what then got me thinking in terms of thinking out of the box, if I can say so, in saying that, okay, what opportunities can we create for ourselves? to be able to showcase our products or market our products? How can we make it work if the opportunities are not there? What are the other options available to us? And that has then led to Meraki, because I was actually looking for opportunities to showcase my jewelry in the city center, or even kind of, let's say, in Cork. And given that there weren't many, I thought, okay, how can we make it work? And during Showcase, I met a few people who were at Showcase, who then I spoke to as well, who were on the similar path as myself, which then led to me thinking, okay, what if we were to get a space made available to us? If we had a space where we could actually showcase our products, we could come together as a collective, as a group, and make it work. And that's how the idea was born. Because even as I spoke to the ladies, like, for example, in Dunmanway, Cecilia, I had a brief conversation with her, and she started as a pop-up shop as well. So it was great to get her feedback and inputs too. And that then led me to kind of, let's say, having a conversation with Winthrop Arcade, because I used to go to Winthrop Arcade a lot during the pandemic and after, because I love spending time in Coco and Joe's and Rose, because they have yummy food and hot chocolate. And I've always seen that that unit over there too, which I felt that would be a great space to kind of start something to, if made available. Luckily for us, I would say, for the group of us, the management was willing to consider my proposal and listen me out in terms of what I was kind of, let's say, suggesting to them. And then they gave us the opportunity to take that unit over the next kind of, let's say, whatever number of weeks and months that I had actually proposed. And from there on, it has been an interesting kind of, let's say, cascade of events that played out, and me connect with kind of Martina and the rest of the 10 of us, and coming together as a group to make the magic happen, I have to say, in the form of Meraki.
So, first of all, about your own business, are your products available online? Is there a website?
Yes. Sorry, I just went right into it. Yes, I'm on www.leapoffaith.ie. So you can actually find my jewelry there. So I have my crystal collection as well as my fidget jewelry, because I love playing with my jewelry. So there is the fidget collection available as well online. So you can find me on Instagram or on my website.
Yeah, and I love what you were saying about not having everything figured out. You do need to start. You do need to try things. You do need to keep pushing. You do need to keep listening. You do need to keep your eyes open. And those opportunities will come to you, as well as taking on board a lot of learning. And I think the one thing you learned is that you can't be 100% dependent on other people to make a decision as to whether they would put your products on their shelves.
Yeah.
So that motivation to take on your own outlet is really interesting. But suddenly, and the bad news, Sue, is you're now a retailer.
I know.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm getting a crash course in retail.
Yeah, I was a retailer for a while as well. I had record shops, believe it or not.
God, Greg, any wisdom that you can share with us?
Yeah, it's the most peculiar, unusual profession or sector to be in. And the one thing that always blew my mind was, once you're open, there's patterns to your trade. I'm sure every little business is different depending on what you're selling and everything. But on a Monday, you would sell so much. And on a Tuesday, you would sell so much. And on a Saturday and a Sunday, you would sell so much. On a Friday night, you would sell so much. And there was a real pattern to it. You could recognize it after a while. You could predict it. And then when you break it down, you're thinking, well, what is it about Monday that so many people get up in the morning and decide, I'm going to buy a CD today? And it seems to be the same. And obviously they're not the same people every Monday who are doing that. But the results are more or less the same, that it just happens that way. My colossal learning, and this was the scariest thing, was that you could do as much research as you hope to do to try to discover, will this be a success or not? But the worst lesson from my point of view, what I discovered was, you have no idea in truth until you open that door. And it's going to be successful or not. And in my experience, and we had outlets in a number of different cities and different locations, was the pattern that you could see at the beginning was pretty much the pattern that continued. Now, obviously, you need to do all of your hard work, boosting awareness, using all of your social media tricks and marketing and PR and all that kind of business to get as many people as possible to discover the beautiful pop-up store in that really unusual place called the Winthrop Arcade. Because I think when it comes to retail, we're all creatures of habit. If I have to go into town to get a present for Deirdre, I'm thinking, okay, where do I go? And invariably, yeah, totally. Oh, no, you shouldn't be messing. You need to say that. Because so I used like going to Design Works on Cork Market Street.
Yes, they have amazing jewelry there.
Yeah, and it's it's a go-to. And I go, okay, if I'm under pressure now, birthday next week, don't know where to go, it's nearly my go-to. And beyond that, in my own head, I don't have a lot of other solutions. And if you want to get a book, you know where to go to. And if you want to get some clothes, you know where to go to. And we have our little habits. So what you need to do is make Meraki the habit of...
Greg, I'll start with you.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. So where does the name come from?
Meraki, it's a Greek word. And it actually means creating with a bit of love and soul. So whatever you create, you put a bit of your soul into it. That's what it means. And I know that between us, the 12 of us, every one of us are similar in that whenever they make something or whatever they're creating, they've always put their heart and soul into it. So I felt it apt in terms of bringing this group together as well, because every product that you get in Meraki has a bit of soul and heart in it. And through that, then we are creating moments that matter for whoever buys from us as well. So it's almost like carrying that love and soul along with them as they walk out the shop.
And tell me, when Martina escaped from her dungeon, how did you meet her?
Oh, yes. So I was actually forming the group for Meraki. So in the sense, I had already started connecting with the people I knew who would be equally passionate about Meraki and want to kind of, let's say, come together. And I was chatting with Lisa then, who was supposed to help me with my visual display for Meraki. And at that point, Lisa mentioned Martina to me. And Lisa is like, do you know Martina? Because I was actually looking for unique products. I already had baby wear, but I did not have any kind of baby specific gifting products available in the collective. And Lisa said, oh, you must definitely connect with Martina. I think you guys will hit it off. You guys will get along well. And I think that was it. And I did not even waste a second, Greg. It was almost like my intuition just sent that message. And I actually connected with Martina that moment itself as I was chatting with Lisa. And then we had a conversation later on and we just clicked. Martina, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, for me, it was an energetic connection straight away. And I just felt that I could actually kind of get along very well with Martina. And I've seen her profile. I've seen the amazing array of products she has. Oh my God, they are so gorgeous. And I was like, this is the perfect fit for Meraki. And that's how then it took off. But I'll leave Martina add to it as well.
No, we absolutely clicked. So Lisa actually sent me a text message one evening mentioning Sue to me and the shop. And I was like, yeah, great idea. Put me in contact with Sue. And then Sue called me. What I didn't realize is that the shop was opening. Well, it was due to a week later, or not even a week, and I was like, "Wow, this is madness!" But Lisa or Sue and I ended up talking on the phone for nearly an hour, if not more than that, and we just couldn't stop talking. Yeah, we got on really well, clicked very, very easily, and I was like, "Right, this is mad, but I'm so doing it. It's just the vibe I was getting off Sue was just way too good to not do it. Basically, it just seemed like an amazing opportunity to take on. So yeah, that's how it started.
Just to add to that, we got the keys to the shop on Jan 31st. That's when we got the keys to the shop. So it was the 2-week madness of all of us coming together and making that, co-creating that magic and making that magic happen. It wouldn't have happened otherwise. We literally opened the shop in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And isn't it amazing when you need to do something and there's a deadline, you make it happen?
Yes. And I have to say, if a group of like-minded people come together, Greg, you can literally, that's what I think happened with Meraki. A group of like-minded people came together and they just made that magic happen. And I think it's a great example itself, in the sense, if you have the right set of people around you, if you have the right set of people there, kind of, let's say, cheering you on and kind of supporting you, you can make magic.
Yeah. And the great thing, when you work for yourself, you make a decision, bang, you go for it. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no committees, there's no getting approvals, there's no nothing, as long as it's feasible for
no
you.
approval process.
Yeah. Sometimes I think, it might have been a good idea if there was a few more barriers to doing things, because it's a bit too easy at times and you can make mistakes, but that's what it's all about as well.
Yeah.
So you're both on the Win Happy podcast. So I've got a few questions for you, and I'm going to start with Martina. So Martina, what's happiness to you?
What is happiness to me? Happiness to me is doing something I really love and enjoy, waking up every morning excited about doing what I'm planning on doing that day, having the flexibility to go for a walk whenever I feel like it, without being tied to the 9 to 5 working hours, meetings, basically being able to plan my day the way I want it to go. But yeah, mostly just doing what I love. And when I see other people, my customers or clients, appreciating my work, that's what makes me happy, because creating my products gives me so much fulfillment, but then getting that positive feedback, seeing that smile, it really builds you up. So that's what makes me happy. So waking up and going to bed knowing, okay, that's what my days look like, it's just really exciting.
Cool. And how about you, Sue?
For me, happiness is freedom. Freedom to choose what you do with your time. Freedom to choose to be with your family when you want to be with them. Freedom to make things that can then create that effect or create that magic for the customer. So I don't know if I'm explaining this well. It's almost like as if you're your own boss. You are free to do what you want and how you want to do it. And it's not anyone else dictating it or telling you how to spend your time, effort, or energy. I think for me, happiness is being able to choose what I want to do and who I want to do it with, in the sense where I want to spend my time and how I create that energy as well, to create that kind of happiness for others too, in some way or form.
And I use this analogy about winning happy. So if I thought about being happy was playing football all day long, out on the pitch, playing football with my friends, we're kicking the ball to each other and it makes us really happy. Well, if there were no goalposts, it would get very boring very quickly. And sometimes on those goalposts, you try hard and the ball comes across to you and you manage to hit that ball so perfectly and the ball hits the back of the net and it's like that huge burst of satisfaction and you're winning. So what does winning look like for you, Sue, at this stage?
You know what? That's an interesting kind of, let's say, example you gave, Greg, because I remember in the past, as I was growing up, I used to always look for happiness outside of me. I used to always look for happiness outside. It was like I was looking for that external validation from others, be it my parents or be it my boss or be it people that I used to hang out with, right? I think over the last couple of years, I have realized that happiness comes from within. You don't need to seek out outer validation. You just need to be happy in yourself. And yes, there's a lot of work that needs to go into that. There's a lot of inner work that needs to be done to achieve that. It's not something that you can switch a button and it happens. There's a lot of gunk that you need to kind of, let's say, work on, like releasing emotions, experiences, things that you have probably picked up from your external environments or your social cultural conditioning, etc. And it's almost like you're reviewing all of that as you go through these phases of life, and you realize that at the end of the day, it's just you. And if you're happy within, then that happiness shows out outside and in your interactions with others. It's only when your cup is full that you can actually give to others. And that's been a huge learning for me over the last couple of years. So I try my level best. I know there are times when, of course, our energy levels fluctuate, and then there could be times when you don't feel your best. But it's almost like then you learn to center yourself by using certain techniques, methods, etc., to bring yourself back in, and also kind of, let's say, reflect on what could be the reason why, and review it, figure things out, process it, and then come back to yourself in some way or form. I don't know. I hope I'm making sense, but
Yeah, but that winning feeling, what is a win to you?
I think if I can actually wake up every day feeling happy in myself, that itself is a huge win. If I can spend time with my family like I want to, that is a huge win for me.
Okay. And Martina, I know you love making all of your bits and bobs, and it gives you loads of satisfaction. But I know you as well, putting the ball in the back of the net, that moment when you go, yes. What does that look like for you?
In my fantasy land, I am living in a beautiful house in the mountains. Don't have to like commute to work. I have my own studio, in the house where I can, a little workshop when I can craft away, and I can wake up in the morning, the sun is out, I feel like going for a hike. I'm just going for a hike, and I can work, the following day and catch up with work then. My winning goal would be that, basically. Yeah, living somewhere beautiful in Ireland, maybe Kerry, and close to the mountains, while still doing what I'm doing, professionally. And then, obviously growing that to a point where I could maybe possibly delegate some of the responsibilities to other people, just to take some of the workload off myself. But also, strictly thinking about the business, I'd love to introduce a wedding collection to my product range, which is something that was initially part of the plan when I was starting off, but I just decided to concentrate on the baby and the baby products at the start. And I'm kind of at the point now where I'm hoping that maybe this year I will be able to introduce a wedding collection, because, my business and my products are all about celebrating important moments in life, making memories. So like starting a family, getting engaged and getting married, that's all part of it. So yeah, my winning goal would be being able to do that sometime in the near future, and then later down the road have this beautiful house in the mountains where I can do it from.
That visualization, Martina, if you dream it, it just might happen.
Yeah, because fusion happened to me by visualizing. I manifested fusion. So I do believe that, that's how it works. Yeah.
I'm going to ask both of you a really unusual question, and yeah, see how you get on with it. So to you, Sue, what was your best day ever?
Oh, wow. Well, the most recent one was the opening of Meraki. I have to say, I really enjoyed that experience of actually walking into the shop and opening the doors to our customers and having our first customer come in and make a purchase. I mean, that itself was a huge kind of, let's say, milestone for me. And having leap of faith in my own outlet, in the sense in Meraki itself, to be able to kind of showcase my products there and having people appreciate it has been a huge, huge win for me.
Fantastic. How you ever worked in IT is beyond me, but anyway, that confuses me totally. Maybe it's just because your dad did it. You were not cut out to work in IT ever. How about you, Martina? Your best day ever? And you're allowed to tell me it was the day you started in Fusion, but I don't think somehow that's going to be your answer.
It was definitely one of the best days. I think making my very first sale after launching the business on the very first day when it was launched was probably my happiest, or one of my happiest days. And then this year, one of my goals actually for this year was having my products stocked in a retailer. So being approved by Sue was amazing. And I didn't even have to go into any efforts to do that in terms of finding a retailer, the opportunity came to me. So getting that opportunity, getting that phone call just made my day,
Magic.
Wow. And to anyone who's listening, if you want some beautiful jewelry, you have all of the website details for Sue's website, Leap of Faith. And for Martina, if you want those gifts, and I'm very disappointed in you. So disappointed in you, Martina. This business was supposed to be a total failure, and despite my best wishes. But if they want to get something very, very special with a wedding collection to come, they know where to go to as well. Both of you, thank you so much. And we're open in the Winthrop Arcade. And for anyone who doesn't know, because people may not know, it's the little side street between Winthrop Street and Oliver Plunkett Street. There's a beautiful little loop, and there's all the lovely shops in there as well. I think a lot of people never take that little path. And to both of you, you need to turn up the volume on your social media big time, and maybe host a little event there, because they won't know where it is. That's what I see as being the biggest challenge, just knowing where that shop is. And it's back to the old traditional things. You just need to get someone to come in that door for the very, very first time and make a new shopping habit, and they're in for a big surprise when they come in there, I'm sure.
Right.
And I have a place to go to.
Yes, it's your next habit.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about good, healthy habits.
Greg, thank you so much for having us on Win Happy podcast. This is such a great opportunity for us to speak about our businesses as well as share a bit of ourselves with you. So thank you. Massive.
You're so welcome.
I just want to say we really, really appreciate it and really enjoyed the chat. Yeah, and we're looking forward to seeing you in Meraki someday.
Thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.